Hi, this is Kurt with Friendly DevOps, a channel dedicated to talking about Linux news and DevOps related topics. As part of an ongoing series, I will be demonstrating how to deploy resources using CDKTF. The first script that we will be deploying will be setting up a landing zone on AWS. For those unaware, a landing zone is a pre-configured starting point for a deployment of application and workloads on cloud platform. Most cloud platforms will already provide you with the basic necessities for deploying your resources, such as a VPC and subnets. For our purposes, we will be setting up the necessary resources for deploying a 3-tier web application that will be available via DNS. To utilize this script, we will first need to give access to GitHub on our AWS account. So we'll go to IAM, and then we'll go to identity providers where you will provide this URL. You will click on add provider, go to OpenID Connect, and paste in the provider URL the token.actions.githubusercontent.com. Since I've already done so, I will not proceed any further. Then you will go to roles, and then you'll create a role and provide it with the necessary permissions for deploying whatever resources you need. And then you'll go to trust relationships, in which you will set up something similar to what we have here, where you will set up a for all values string like, and then the URL that you provided, odd and sub, and then the STS Amazon AWS.com. And then for your repo, you will provide the owner / the repository name. I'll not be going over the components of the script in detail, but the main body of the script will be in the main.ts file. Here we will be importing all of the configurations from the lib.stacks section. For those who wish to utilize this script, you will be expected to change the name and the project and assign the relevant region. So this script will be deploying a certificate manager for our SSL certificate, a Route 53 zone that will be the ingress for our application, and then several ECRs, Elastic Container Registries, that will store our Docker containers, and then finally a master key SSH key. This setup utilizes an S3 bucket backend to store the state. And the way that this operates is it will store the state file, and then the bucket name that we provide, and then the key will be the project name and the ID of the application that will be provided here as part of the what do you call it, the initialization of each component. So our certificate manager will generate a wildcard certificate utilizing the name that we provide and the project. So this is the primary reason for why you will need to change both those fields, as well as with our Route 53 zone. This will be the manner in which it generates the zone by utilizing the name and the project. Because I did not set up my domain name via AWS, I will not be able to validate my domain once this script is finished running. For those who have set up their domain names within AWS, you can uncomment out this section in order to have the script complete the validation process for your certificate as part of the deployment. Now that you've set up the role to allow GitHub to access your AWS account, you will need to provide your AWS account ID, which can be found by clicking on this portion of the AWS page. The name of the role that you've set up, the bucket where you wish to store your state, and then the public key for your SSH configuration. You will store all of those components here in secrets and variables / actions, and you will click on it by creating a new repository secret. As you can see, I've already created all of the necessary components here. Once you've provided all those components, you can come here to the actions page and click on deployment workflow. Click on run workflow. Ensure that you're on the correct branch, and then make sure that you're on deploy, and then run your workflow. Now that our deployment is complete, we will go to the AWS page and verify that the deployment has ran successfully. So we will go through each component. So we'll start with the Route 53 entry. You'll go to hosted zones. And as you can see right here, our hosted zone has now been created. Now let's go to certificate manager. And as you can see, our new certificate has been generated, but it is pending validation. So we will not be able to validate this token until we have set up a connection. Now, my domain provider or domain name provider is not AWS. If your domain name provider is AWS, you would be able to validate exclusively within the AWS console or utilizing the script. Since my domain name provider is Namecheap, I will have to go back to Route 53. On my hosted zones. Go to the newly created hosted zone, and then I will have to utilize these NS entries and provide it to my domain name provider. So here you will find my domain name provider Namecheap, and I will be setting this up under advanced DNS. So we will first click add new record. Okay. So we'll add a new NS record for each one of these entries. So we'll click NS record. The host will be AWS tests. Okay. Now that we've set up those NS records, it'll take about a day for them to be properly registered. Now, as we move forward, let's check our ECRs to verify that those have been deployed correctly. Okay, all three of them are here. And then we'll go to our EC2 instance and go to key pairs to verify that our master key has been set up correctly, and there it is. All right, there you go. The landing zone deployment is complete. I hope you will join me in the next video where I will be deploying a web application to the Elastic Container Service.